Hello there, this is the CMOS, the Code Maven open source podcast and video interview series, and I'm your host, Gabor Sabo. And with me, here's Henning Thorsen, also known as Batman, and Markus Ramberg, also known as Markus.
Yeah,
hello, guys.
Hey.
What is your nickname? Markus? Markus. Okay.
So he's actually Batman, you know.
Yeah, Batman. Did I say something else?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
I mean, he's really Batman.
Right. So we guys know each other for quite a long time from the Perl community, but many of the listeners don't, and I actually don't know why are you Batman? Please tell me a little bit about your history. How did you get into programming? How did you get into open source? And then from there we get to the product that you're talking about.
Right. So in 2001, I started working for a cable company, and they wanted me to make a provisioning system for them. And I didn't know any programming at the moment. So I started Googling, and the first thing that came up was some Perl code. So from now, I'm really happy that the first hit wasn't PHP instead. Because if PHP was number one on Google, then I would be programming PHP instead.
Okay, well, maybe, I don't know. Okay, I don't want to say anything else about that. Maybe you'd be better off there.
Maybe, but yeah, who knows. But anyway, so I did Perl pretty much by myself for many, many years. But then I started getting more active on IRC, and I met some people from Oslo who also did Perl. And then I started hanging out on the YAPC Europe conferences and stuff like that. So then I got more into the whole Perl community and everything. But for a long time I was just doing scripting by myself. So the code was really awful at that moment.
Markus, if I'm not mistaken, you are both from Oslo, right?
Well, I'm originally from Lillehammer, but I've lived here since '99, so I guess I'm from Oslo now.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've been active in open source for a really long time. I think my first active contribution was a translation of the Window Maker project. I don't know if you remember Window Maker from the 90s, a window manager for Excel.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've been doing Perl MVC stuff for quite a long time. I used to do web development using Mason back in the early 2000s, and I really disliked how disorganized it was. So when Simon Costens came up with the Maple project, I got involved in that, and then eventually moved on to be part of the Catalyst team as a release manager for the Catalyst project for a few years. And more recently, I've been contributing to the Malicious project as part of the core. So I'm.
We had Joel from the Malicious project on the show.
Yeah.
So do you guys still using Perl a lot in these days?
Yeah, well, I've been doing operations for a couple of years, but I just came back to a Perl job now. We're working together at a company called Reisegiganten, which is a travel site.
Okay, so it's not your company, is it?
It's not my company. I had my own company for 6 years, and then I went back to being an employee again. It's much less stressful to work for someone and get money and go home and deal with your children. So I'm quite happy to work at Reisegiganten. They're a big Perl shop. They have several Catalyst applications and have been moving on to Mauritius in the last couple of years, which is why they wanted to have us on board. So I'm very glad to be able to do Moyo again in my daytime job, because this gives me an excuse to contribute more back to the project.
Oh, that's really nice. So you're moving applications from Catalyst over to Modulicious.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, why is that? Why do you do that?
Well, it's a much leaner framework to work with. So it's like instead of programming Java, you can just you don't have to program that much to make stuff actually work.
Yeah, and we're really happy with the async capabilities that Mojo gives us. Most of our travel site is built around Solr, which is like HTTP based. So using the Mojo IO loop and the async, we can do a lot of operations in parallel and still have really fast responses and stuff like that. So being async is a really big benefit for us.
Okay,
Yeah.
and do you, so the project we wanted to talk, the project you created, Convos, right? That we wanted to talk about. And as I understand, it's an IRC client basically, or a web interface for IRC. Do you use IRC at work, or only for your open source involvement?
Well, in my previous work, we used IRC and Convos actively internally. But
at the moment, they were using a proprietary internal chat client at our new job, but we're planning on moving them over eventually. We just need to make it as good for their purposes. So that's one of our internal goals, actually. So we get to work on those to make it to make the integrations that they require for their workday.
Okay, so let's get to the beginning of Convos. Tell me, why did you create it? What is it, and why did you create it?
Yeah, so I think it's back in 2012. By accident, I was talking to Marcus, and he was actively using IRC Cloud at the moment, which he really enjoyed. But he wanted something for himself, and myself, I was really tired of using IRC or
so like a screen-based console client.
Yeah,
right.
Because I wanted to have my chat with me everywhere. So I was thinking, I should make a web-based IRC client so I could use it on my cell phone.
And in the browser and wherever you go, right?
Yeah. So we were talking about it, and then we just started hacking on Convos.
Are there applications like that you can install on your mobile phone that would allow you to use IRC?
Oh, at the moment we're focusing on just making it.
No, he means other applications.
Others.
Well, that doesn't really work well if you're having your IRC. Then you have to use that application, and then you're only online while you're running the application, and then you need to deal with a proxy or something like that, and it's really suboptimal because maybe some messages get pushed to your desktop while you're there. And then you connect with your web base, and you can't see the history because it's scrolled out. So we want to be always in sync and always have access to all of the history and see what you can go back and see what happened to your chat, right? If you use a native IRC client on your mobile, you're only connected while you open the phone. The idea with Convos is that you're always online, right? You're always connected to IRC, and then you just go into your web browser or your web application and you continue the conversations you were having at another client.
So as I remember, I've actually stopped using IRC a couple of years ago because I felt that it's too much distraction, too much discussion going on, and I can't get the job done. But I had two ways of using IRC. One of them was when I had an IRC client on my own desktop, and then whenever I connected, then I could use it. And the other mode was when I had an IRC client running on a server inside a screen session, and then I could connect to it. So if I understand, Convos provides this kind of capability.
Yeah, so it's a mix of both because you have it running on a server, but it's more like a native client in your web browser, right?
Yeah. So even if you close your web browser, you're still actively on the IRC service that you connected to. So that means if let's say if you're using your desktop or your laptop at work, and then you're on your bus on your way home, then you can just open up your cell phone and you can continue the conversations, or you can see unread messages on your cell phone. And so they are. It doesn't matter where you open up your browser. You are always connected to the same server.
Yeah, and if someone mentions you while you're disconnected, you will instantly see it as a red flag in the corner. There's 300 messages.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do other people see you? So when you're not connected to the server, but the server is still connected to the IRC channel, they regular?
They really can't tell.
They can't tell.
No, they just see you as you're online.
Same as if you're on a screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that you started to build or started to together. How did you start to build? Who started to build it?
Marcus started out, and then we, like, I don't know, after a month or something, I joined in.
Yeah.
And then we just met regularly, and we hacked. We were using GitHub so we could contribute and collaborate that way.
I'm a big fan of the GitHub workflow, where we're using GitHub issues to track new ideas, and you can see what Henning has been doing through the Git interface and stuff like that. So it makes it really easy to collaborate.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone doesn't use IRC or if someone doesn't use IRC, how could you describe this feature or the software and IRC together?
So one of the focuses that we are having is that we don't want the user to know that it's IRC. We just want it to be like a regular chat application. So, for example, like Facebook Messenger or similar applications, they should feel the same way. So even though we're using IRC as a transport now, that's not really a limitation to the application. So let's say if you would like to have a Jabber backend instead, you could build that, and you wouldn't know if you were on Jabber or on IRC or whatever you're connected to.
Or even like if you just want to use Convos as your internal chat, you could just have like a loop backend, and the only people are using Convos. So basically, it's a generic chat application, but IRC is a transport that we've chosen because we're mostly on IRC.
Yeah.
So if there's a company that wants to have a chat application inside the company for its employees, can they use just Convos without having an IRC server there, or do they still need the IRC server? And how difficult would it be to set it up?
So I used to work at Telenor, one of the biggest telecom company in Norway, where we use Convos internally. So the nice thing about Convos there was that I was able to connect and chat with people who have no idea about what IRC was. I just gave them an account to Convos, and then we just used it as it would be Facebook Messenger or any other messaging service.
But right now, you would need to use it as a component server. You would need to set up a simple IRC server in the backend. Eventually, we plan to get rid of that requirement so that you can just spin up a chat room internally in the Convos application without any IRC server. But really, it's not very hard to install. It's just apt-get install command to get the IRC server running.
Yeah. So you don't really have to connect to any global IRC server. So that was one of the requirements, because some of the things we were discussing, we couldn't share with like a public IRC server. So that's basically what Marcus was telling about now, is that we just installed IRC server on Red Hat, and then we installed Convos, and then we were up and running. So then we would have like our own isolated chat application that were local to the company.
So I recently released a new version, and one of the big things was the easier way of installing it.
Yeah.
I've never tried to install an IRC server, and I've never tried it. So I wondered, you say that installing an IRC server is just installing the relevant package in your Linux distribution.
Yeah, Red Hat or Debian or something like that. It's quite easy to get up and running.
And then what do you need to install Convos?
There's on our webpage, which is convos.by. There's an installation guide which is just a one-liner. So you can just I guess you shouldn't really pipe something into your shell.
Yeah.
But if you trust HTTPS, then you can run that one-liner, and it will download Convos and install it.
Well, you can just get the script, and it has very lightweight dependencies, so it's quick to install. That was one of the things we wanted to get rid. The the previous version was using Redis as a backend, so then you needed to install Redis and stuff like that. So we got rid of that requirement. Now we can just use it
So
just by.
What are the building blocks of Convos?
So right now we decided to go to a plain file backend. So that means you don't need any MySQL or Redis or Postgres or anything. You can just run the one-liner, and then you have Convos up and running.
Yeah.
And then you can start connecting to global IRC servers. So the only reason you would need to install your own IRC server would be if you need to exchange data that you don't want to.
Or if you need a company chat, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Convos has it's built on the Perl toolchain, but it's the installer script is custom made for Convos to make it super simple to install. And that's one of the things that I think is really cool, that people are joining our Convos help chat, and then they're like, oh, how do I install this? And I'm just point them to the installation guide. And then they're like, "Oh man, I just installed it and it was so simple."
Okay, so
So you don't need any knowledge of the Perl tool chain yourself. So you don't need to know how to use cpan or cpan minus or any of that. You can just download Convos and then you run and it will bootstrap itself.
Okay, that's good probably for most of the people who are not using Perl. And probably also for people who are using Perl, because easy installation is always good.
Yeah.
So who is using your project?
We would love to know.
We see the people who come and get support, but you know the challenges of an open source project. People, you put it on the internet and you don't really know who's using it, right? We know that some companies have it, but.
Have you received any outside contribution, or are you to the team, or are there more people in the team building it?
So it's basically me and Marcus discussing design, and then Joel, like you mentioned earlier, from the Modulicious core team. He's also done some stuff, and then we had a hackathon in, I think it was in June. Where we had two other people who were contributing and writing unit tests and implementing free text search and stuff like that. So that was really cool.
And we get like issues on GitHub and people contributing ideas and stuff like that. And we have some pull requests as well. So basically anyone is all free to open a pull request and contribute.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know any other products that provide similar service or features?
Well, there are a lot of there's a lot of different projects that have the same kind of functionality, but a lot of them is online, so you can't really. So let's say if you see it from a user experience perspective, then there's a lot of a lot of competing products, but our product is.
There's not as many like self-hosted products like these.
Okay.
There is one or two node-based projects that we are competing with, and that makes sense, I guess. Like Node is just like Modulicious, async run loop, so it's a good platform to build this kind of thing on. For us, it was more obvious to use Muyo, of course, since we know it really well, and we're very happy with it.
But to mention some, there's like Slack, and you have IRC Cloud, and you have Shout, and you have Mibit, and there's probably.
All of those are hosted though.
Yeah, all of those are hosted. But there's probably like at least 20 other projects, and maybe 15 of them is written in Node, I guess.
Okay. So I guess if I was wanted to use something like this, I would probably look for something which is hosted. So I wouldn't want to set up my own. So if I was using for my personal use and I wanted to access all kind of public IRC channels, then I would probably not want to run my own, if possible. Well, I would rather run.
Why not? Or why would you trust a random service on the internet with your private data?
I'm not. If I'm already talking on a public IRC channel.
Well, you have private messages as well on the IRC server.
Okay, that's true.
One of the problems for me, like for instance with IRC Cloud, some of the business models for the hosted models are prohibitive. Like you can get started very cheaply, but then if you want to be connected to more IRC servers than one, they want to have a lot of money per month. So you end up with a lot of running costs to pay for this thing, right? For instance, a lot of companies are using Slack now, which is fine for free, but then if you want to have your whole history like you can in Convos, like right now, you can go back and search in all of the history since you chatted, then you have to start paying. And for like a medium-sized company, that can be hundreds of dollars per month just to have a company chat.
Yeah, definitely. So the company chat, for a company chat, I would definitely want to have my own everything.
Yeah, IRC Cloud, I think I was looking, because they were limiting it at the number of IRC servers that you could connect to. And I want to be like on Freenode or Magnet or something. And then suddenly the price was running up at $40, $50 a month just for a personal account. You can buy a hosted servers and not just run Convos, but run several different things there, right? So
okay. So who
you can customize it or improve it the way you want.
But I can see from, let's say, if you have no experience with CLI or you don't know how to use Linux or anything, then of course it would be difficult to install Convos. But that's one of the things we want to do. Hopefully, in the beginning of next year, is to write oh man, I forgot what it's called. But in Ubuntu now, you have these self-contained packages instead of using like ordinary Debian packages. So then I would like to make one of those. Sorry, I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, so you could actually download it and then you can install it as easy as you would install XChat or any of the other desktop clients.
We've also been looking at like DigitalOcean, because they have this setup for booting images of prepared applications. So then you could pay just $5 a month to get your server with Convos, and that would be just a one-click install, right? And then you have a server in the cloud which you can reach from anywhere.
Yeah. And then you wouldn't have any limitations like you would have with hosted services. So that's probably why I would use Convos instead of just going to some hosted.
So basically, for $5 a month, you would get unlimited connections and unlimited users.
Yeah, you have your own server, and then you're really just limited almost by the storage of the servers, which is like 40 gigabytes or something.
Yeah, so you would have a lot of chat history.
So, do you have any business plans with the project?
We were considering it earlier, but now we've just been too busy to like, if you would go into a business, then you would have like a business strategy, and then you would have you would need some kind of support plan, and there's a lot of stuff that, so we kind of abandoned that idea. But one of the cool things about Convos is that it's under the MIT license. So that means that if anyone else would like to run a business on top of Convos, then they could actually do that. So let's say
we're very open to that idea if someone wants to.
Yeah, I mean that would be awesome if someone else would. So for example, let's say if you want to make your own hosted Convos server where people pay you for having their account there, then you're free to do that. Like there's no limitations on what you can do with our software.
Okay, so who would you be your dream customers or dream users, not customers, because you're not a business now?
Well, one of the things that I would just love if people told us that they were using the software. I mean, there's one of the things that I like the most when I make an open source project, no matter if it's just a library or if it's Convos or if it's some other application. Then one of the things that fuel me to make the application even better and of course fix bugs and all the other stuff is just knowing that people use it. So if they just drop us an email or something and just tell us, yeah, we're using it, then it would be really cool, even though if it's just one person somewhere or if it's a big company.
And if they fail to use it, we want to hear about why as well, so we can make sure that they don't fail anymore.
Exactly.
Actually, regarding that, if someone wants to start using Convos, they can go and download, they can go to a website, convos.by, right, and download it and install it and start using it. But if they need help, where can they go to get help?
So there's a lot of options for getting help as well, and you can also see that on the Convos BY webpage. But you can contact us on Twitter, or you can send us an email, or you can open an issue on GitHub, or you can join the Convos channel on chat.freenode.net.
Yeah, or you can just go into our demo application. There's a demo that you can use online if you want to look at it before you try to start and install it, and we'll be online there, and eventually we will answer you. Maybe not like 24/7 because we're both in the same time zone and we sleep sometimes.
But there's there are people dropping in. Maybe not every day, but there are questions dropping in on chat.freenode.net all the time. So
is the channels the Convos channel on the demo server? Is it connected to the Convos channel on the public IRC server?
No, we had some issues because a lot of the IRC servers, like the public IRC servers, they have limitations on number of connections
per IP.
Yeah, per IP. So that means that in the beginning we were running, you could connect to whatever you wanted, but then we got banned from a lot of the networks. So we had some bad publicity in the beginning. But then,
so that's why we restricted the demo to just a local IRC server.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so people were using the demo, and then that triggered a lot of connections, if I understand.
Yeah,
right?
but now the demo is locked, so you can't connect to. You can only connect to one server that we are running.
Okay.
So we're running our own IRC server where we are also connected to. So that means that if someone asks us questions in the demo channel, then we will answer there as well.
Yeah, because of course you can be in more than one server with a full-fledged. It's just a demo that's locked. The Convos that we are using, you can connect to like several IRC servers and get all the channels listed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess we can talk a little bit about the features, which is what we just said, that you can be connected to as many IRC networks as you like. Okay. And of course you have private conversations, and then you also have chat rooms. Like that's the basic stuff with IRC. Mm-hmm. And for people who are used to other internal chat applications at their work, then one of the big benefits of using Convos is that you actually have the chat rooms, because then a lot of people can share ideas and discuss stuff. So I mean that's basic knowledge for anyone who has been using IRC, but for people who are just using chat application, then it's mostly private messages instead of having collaborative chat rooms.
Okay, and does the server already automatically record history?
Yes.
Of the channel? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So you have unlimited scrollback, and we've implemented search in the backend, but we haven't exposed the feature in the front end yet. But there will also be unlimited, like you can search back whatever you like.
I think one of my favorite features is the link embedding. So if someone shares a link to, for instance, a YouTube video, it will automatically be embedded into the chat. Or like GitHub gists, you can see a preview of the gist that someone pastes in a chat. Mm-hmm. So it makes the experience more rich. We also have emoji support now, which is obligatory for any modern application, of course, so that you can have smiling cats with tear eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're running out of time. We've actually way over our regular time limit, but apparently because it was interesting to talk about this. So I would really like to thank you for coming on the show, and I hope to. Well, maybe I'll have to try IRC again and through Convos, and I'll see maybe I can handle it, and then we can see you there.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Let us know if you have any problems installing Convos.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye bye.